we criticize the officiating specifically. I try not to do it generally.
Yeah.
We try to look for specific things. Right. I don't like the knee-jerk, the officiating stinks. Give me specific reasons why you think it stinks. And one of the battles I try to fight on behalf of the NFL all the time, but at some point, NFL, I'm just going to quit trying to fight it. You're going to have to fight it yourself. The whole idea that stuff is rigged.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, it's not. It's just incompetence. Yeah. It's not intentional. It's just incompetence, and they're not competent enough to rig it. There's kind of an insult buried in my defense of the NFL.
I think that's fair.
I don't believe they would be able to pull it off if they were trying to rig it.
Right.
Now, that said, that drive last night, there were some calls.
That was crazy calls
that were like, what the hell?
What the hell?
And how many times have we sat in those preseason meetings with the NFL and the question comes up about why the quarterbacks aren't treated like running backs when they become runners? And there was like, oh, that's going to change. That's going to change. Once the quarterback sheds the protections of a passer and becomes a runner,
out of the pocket,
he gets treated like a runner. This year, we mean it. We're going to treat him like a runner this year. And I feel like they have been to a certain extent, but, and this is the broader point, this is what I was going to tell you before the show. I think because now there are so many quarterbacks who are injured, and there is so much subpar play, they've gone the other way. I think somebody who makes the highest salary at 345 Park Avenue has issued a mandate. I don't know this. Call it fan fiction if you want, Hank. I think that somebody high up at 345 Park Avenue has told people beneath him, I don't care. Let Lane Johnson go early every single play.
What he did yesterday,
exactly.
The whole second half of the game.
They had gotten away with it because Juwan Taylor went too far, and the pushback was, all right, we're going to require you to actually line up in the vicinity of the offensive line, and we're not going to let you leave early. Because Juwan Taylor last night was lined up. He was doing it again.
Yeah.
So all these little things where we got to protect the quarterbacks at all costs, up to and including throwing a flag for a late hit when it wasn't even close.
In bounds, right?
It was in bounds.
Clearly.
It wasn't helmet to helmet. It wasn't a violation. It was just, we must protect 15 in red and white at all costs. That's all it was. He didn't even try to sell it all that hard. He didn't do the Josh Allen throw his head back.
No, this is a real hit. I mean, look at what he does to 34 here. I mean, he goes backwards. Mahomes is a thick dude. That was a pretty big collision. When I saw it, I went, whoa, right? Clearly in bounds. Clearly not the right call. How can you call that?
Embarrassing.
It's embarrassing is right. It's the NFL.
Embarrassing.
And the star quarterback, yes, I know he's the face of our league, but he was in bounds. What do you want the defenders to do? And to me, that was the start or the ripple effect of like total dysfunction towards the end here, right? Because then I think that start to get the makeup calls too. And that's where you get into the pass interference. You mean, was that pass interference or manslaughter down the middle of the field? I mean, you tell me.
I mean, I joked after it happened. Maybe the officials just assumed he was going to drop it anyway. but Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and this was the makeup call. That's what
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It felt like they were trying to,
we know we
messed
screwed
that
the Packers.
up, so we don't want to give you a...
Yeah, so we're going to, and who knows what's going through the person's mind in real time, but how do you not throw the flag
NFL, they called this right there, pass interference, when he put his hand on his back.
He hit him 3 different ways.
He puts his arm around his neck, and then he goes for a ride for 4 yards.
Piggyback
what?
ride.
That is what's going to what you bring up all the time, and I know you hear it from coaches, and I hear it too. It's the inconsistencies of the call. The first, second, and third quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, there's 74 flags on the ground if that play happens right there. Now it's under 2 minutes, and manslaughter's allowed. Hey, I mean, then just tell us that, though. Let us know. Make an announcement at the 2-minute warning. We're not throwing any more flags. No holds bar football. Like what? I mean, what is the point of having the referees out there? And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing defenses call the bluffs on these referees.
Well, look, I mean, Pete Carroll's complaint on Thursday night was ridiculous because
everyone
he thinks
was a penalty.
The Legion of Boom rules still apply.
And
where
Dan Quinn's doing the
same
thing.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and push and shove and grab the receiver on every play, and you're not going to call it every play because you don't want to bog the game down.
Good job of the referees in that game to call it.
Exactly.
Right.
And Pete Carroll, somebody must have gotten on the phone with Pete Carroll
and was like, "Are you kidding me? Every one of your
because
penalties
by the next day,
was a penalty."
Yeah.
By
the next day, he was singing a different tune.
Yeah.
But the officiating function, I wrote something about this several weeks ago. It's a combination of they're too cheap to tear it down and rebuild it.
Yeah.
They don't want to spend the time doing it. When you have people who are paid salary and they got enough stuff to worry about, how do you carve out the time? How do you muster the will to go against the machine? Because the machine is everything's fine. You know, we've all been in organizations at some point in our lives where we know that something maybe needs to change, but we don't know how to go about doing it because the machine is moving a certain way.
Right.
And to be the one to try to push back, you're an asshole for doing it. Why are you doing this? Why are you causing these problems? Why don't you just go along? You go along to get along. It's part of the culture, and it's just this, everything's fine. We don't need to do it. We're still rich. We're counting the money. It doesn't matter. No one's going to come here with subpoenas and shut us down. They'll complain about it. They'll huff and puff, but they aren't going to blow our house down.
Yeah, right.
They're going to bright shiny object.
Right.
Bright shiny object.
Still watching,
we
still
can
making money.
Hypnotize
we're still kicking butt
them.
in the
Exactly.
NFL. Right.
And again, when people say to me, "Why you hate the NFL?" I love the NFL. I love the NFL so much. I'm willing to say that the people who run the NFL aren't good enough. That they need to have an overhaul at 345 Park Avenue. They need to, top to bottom. When you see things like this, and there's no mechanism for change, just like you can't fire the owner. You can't fire the structure that's responsible for what we saw last night. And when we see what we saw last night, it is a symptom of a disease. And the disease is there in plain sight.
That's right.
And again, people get too caught up in it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. No, they're incompetent. And we see the incompetence manifest itself over and over again. And until we do, but see, that's the thing. What are we going to do? Not watch? No. We're going to stop covering it? No. But we are going to take advantage of this platform to say that the folks at 345 Park Avenue had better get their act together because the reckoning is coming in some form.
Right. In a monumental moment, you're going to get the Saints-Rams again or something like that.
People think that I'm being Chicken Little when I say that eventually Congress is going to be up their ass.
Oh, I don't think you're crazy
But
with that.
it already happened in 2009 over head trauma. Congress got out the microscope and put the microscope in the spot where microscopes don't go, and what happens? Because everybody's like, well, the NFL decided on its own. No, the NFL didn't decide on its own to care about player health and safety. Congress made the NFL start caring about player health and safety, so it's got to be Congress to make the NFL start caring about this officiating issue, because otherwise they're just going to fold their arms and sit back. They'll deal with the criticism.
That's right.
Right? Maybe they'll complain about us,
Yep.
but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're going to count their money, and they're going to keep moving.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me last week,
Right.
because I'll answer questions on the plane sometimes if I'm in the mood on Twitter while we're waiting for the door to close and wheels up. And somebody said, well, what's the NFL going to do about the officiating problem? And I found a GIF of one of those machines with the dollar bills, where it's counting the money. That's all they're going to do. They're just going to keep counting the money. They don't have to do anything, so they're not going to do anything.
Yeah, well, they better do something because the Grim Reaper is going to come when it comes to this subject at some point. It is. It's going to cost them in a big moment, a Super Bowl, Saints-Ram, NFC Championship, something.
And they're going to act surprised. We had no idea that.
Well,
That's news to me.
And you know my thought. To me, the league needs more Troy Vincents running this whole program. More people that are actually football people. There's a few too many people in the NFL right now that are running the league that have no background in football. And I think that's kind of crazy. Wait, the sport is football, but we're going to have people who never played football, were involved in it anyway, went to business school, and they're going to tell all the football people how football should be played. That makes no sense. There is an issue and a disconnect right now between that, and we're seeing that with the refereeing that's been inconsistent the whole year, and that was a shame. It really was. It was a shame to see because it would have been fun to see the theatrics at the end. But either way, kudos to Green Bay.
One last point, too,
go ahead.
and they're telling us to take a break, maybe because 345 Park Avenue is already on line one. But the last play, the Hail Mary, it's another example. And I credit Chris Collinsworth.
How about them going out of bounds and Valdez-Scantling? He was going backwards, and they stopped the clock and let him go out of bounds. That shouldn't have happened either.
That's right. That's another. Well, it's the makeup for the makeup. First it was a makeup, then it was the makeup for the makeup.
That's what I was saying.
But then, if they really wanted the ultimate makeup, I credit Chris Collinsworth for not just game's over, let's go. For talking about it, because so many times we see a Hail Mary try, there's blatant interference, and stay tuned for your local news. See you next time.
Yeah, right.
And this is what drives me crazy. And they went through this when they tried to experiment with pass interference for Hail Mary calls and non-calls. they've got a different set of rules for Hail Marys
that
isn't in the rule book. And was that even a Hail Mary? What do you call that? It wasn't at the 50. It was a throw to the end zone from around the 30.
Yeah, right.
It's a last gasp play. I mean, it's kind of like you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
But if that was just a normal play,
definite PI.
if you
sure.
do this 2nd and 10 in the 3rd quarter, you just decide you're going to throw the ball to the end zone, and it just so happens there's a cluster of bodies back there, and that happens, they're going to throw the flag. But in that moment, it's fair game. There's nothing in the rule book that is crafted by the owners. This is the league through its officials taking charge of the game and writing rules that the owners didn't approve of and pass like they do through the normal rulemaking process. That's what bugs me about it. And they're not going to do anything about it. They're just going to keep going.
No,
count the money and keep going.
Listen, it's a tough one. They need to not let egregious pass interference happen. That was borderline to me. I do give a little leeway to that because there's so many bodies in one area that there is going to be some bumping and grinding, for lack of a better way to say it, right? But yeah, that was close. I mean, Owens, like two-hand pushed him before he even went up in the air. And then, of course, I think Devondre Campbell kind of deliberately jumped into him to make sure he knocked him out of the play. But, yeah, we definitely weren't, lacking theatrics at the end of that football game. It was inconsistent, all that. The Chiefs, though. Getting back to that, we know their defense has been good. They got it taken to them last night by LaFleur and Jordan Love. Good for them. And the thing we've been talking about with the Chiefs and their offense, and, I know people out there have been like, oh, I'm not concerned with the Chiefs' offense. Well, are you concerned yet? When are you going to see the concern? They're trying to make it happen some different ways. 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, more screens, running the football. But the fact that there is no systematical dressing down of the defense anymore from the Kansas City Chiefs when it comes to the pass game, and that there is no, Rashee Rice is starting to pop, but still no guy you go, ooh, we got to get double on him or worry about him, and it's only Travis Kelce. And even with Kelce, he had 4 for 81 last night, and 2 of them were just again, not the offense. It was Mahomes scrambling and making a play, and then he finds Kelce. That doesn't give me confidence to go, well, they'll be able to do that in the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. And that's too hard to do against the really good teams. So the offensive troubles in Kansas City are tangible right now, and here they are sitting at 8-4 and starting to look like they might not get home field advantage here for the first time in Mahomes' career.
Unbelievable to think that the Chiefs are going to have to go on the road, and between the Ravens, the Dolphins would have to go there.
That's right. We know the
Bills,
Dolphins are a different team in Miami.
Somehow the Bills coming out of this bye start putting wins together.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, next Sunday the Bills go to Kansas City.
Whoa.
So the Chiefs, they are missing something clearly offensively, and last night the defense wasn't able to clean up the mess for them.
Exactly right.
And now they've been kind of exposed a little bit.
Yeah.
And you got to look at some of these other teams in the AFC. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.